Hello, Bronco fans and football fans alike. Welcome to Broncos Breakdown, Friday, February 19th, 2021. I am your host, Bronco Bill. Now, before I get into any Bronco news, as it relates, obviously, to what's happening in the offseason, I just want to bring you some update on another player that the Broncos may have been or may not have been interested in, and it's one that I would have to agree that it would not be a good stopgap for the Broncos. It would just be another 1 year filler, 1 year gap filler. For what reason? We don't need a gap filler. We need a franchise quarterback, and the person I'm talking about is Carson Wentz. He was traded from the Philadelphia Eagles to the Indianapolis Colts. And the reason why the Colts were interested in the quarterback is because Philip Rivers retired at the end of last season. The reason why it was interesting in regards to the Broncos not even having interest or calling or even trying to make a move on that is because Carson Wentz was he was traded actually for a second round pick this year and a second round next year that could be a first depending on where they end up. So why the Broncos didn't have any interest, I feel it's because they being the Broncos really have their sights set on Deshaun Watson. Now that may be true, but the Texans have not even come close to saying that they're going to trade him. Will Deshaun Watson hold out? That's a great possibility. He could hold out. And if he does hold out, well, then maybe he forces the hand of the Houston Texans to trade him. But as I see it now, I don't see that happening prior to the draft. I don't see it happening even prior to the start of the season because the Houston Texans do not want to trade their franchise quarterback. So right now it's a tug of war between Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. Well, that brings me to the Bronco news. And the Bronco news, as it relates to players, is the Broncos have released Kyle Peko. They released him primarily because he opted out from the 2020 season last year, and apparently he's lost favor with the Broncos. Obviously, by not playing, he lost a year in his not rehab, but in his preparation. Maybe he's out of shape. Even if he did try and stay in shape, it's not going to be game shape because game shape can only happen when you play in actual games. So the Broncos felt that it was in their best interest to let Kyle Peko go. And obviously, since he didn't play last year, the Broncos did fill in with his replacement. So it's not a huge loss as I see it because he didn't play last year. It's also not a huge loss because he wasn't really that much of an influence when he did play. Now, that brings me to the Von Miller issue. Now, rumor has it out of Denver and out of numerous outlets in Denver that Von Miller is rumored to be on a possible list to be released. Now, I don't want to see that happen at all. I mean, Von Miller is the heart and soul of the Denver Broncos. He is the best defensive player this team's ever had. He's a perennial Pro Bowler. He's a Super Bowl MVP, and I've mentioned this before, guys, and excuse me if you've heard this before, but the Broncos don't win the Super Bowl. Absolutely do not win Super Bowl 50 if Von Miller's not on the team. I mean, that's obvious, guys. That's obvious. He single-handedly got the Broncos 14 points with his strip fumble caused that went to the end zone. It was recovered. It was recovered in the end zone. And then the other fumble late in the game in the fourth quarter, I believe it was the fourth quarter. Broncos were only up by, I believe they're only up by 6 at the time. And he caused a fumble, and it was recovered at the 5. And then the Broncos score a touchdown, and they get a 2-point conversion. They win by 14. Now, you take away 14 points, and guys, they don't win that game. They absolutely don't win that game. So Von Miller is a huge, huge part of the Broncos defense. And he being there with all of his experience and whatnot can definitely help out Bradley Chubb and his development and his progression as a pass rusher. But the rumor has it, because of the fact that Von Miller wants a huge, huge salary increase. I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him one bit for that. But he's not going to take a hometown discount, guys. He's not going to do it. There's absolutely no way he's going to do it. So unless George Paton ponies up the money and gives him a great, decent, worthy contract that I believe Von Miller deserves, he's going to be released. And they're not going to franchise tag him, guys. They're not going to do that, because that's for franchise tag is going to be relegated to I can't think of his name right now. Our safety, but he's going to get franchise tagged, and it's not going to be Von Miller. So that being said, unless George Paton gives Von Miller what he wants in a contract, he is not going to be a Denver Bronco in 2021. Now, if he goes to another team and he produces, let's say, 12, 15, 18 sacks, is a huge reason why the team that he goes to wins games, George Paton's going to have to answer a huge, huge reason why he didn't give Von Miller the money he wants. Now, I understand, you gotta spread the money around. I get that. I understand that. But you have to sign the players that have made your team elite. And you get rid of Von Miller, and now you send ripples through the entire Broncos organization, locker room, staff, anybody else that's going to be in contract negotiations this year, next year, down the road, whatever, that you're not going to pay them. And that's not what the Pat Bowlen era was all about. Pat Bowlen and ownership wants to win and wanted to win. And he would not settle for getting rid of players. I know Broncos have done that in the past, and I know it's just all part of football. I get it. It's a business. But when you have a caliber of Von Miller that absolutely can single-handedly win a game for you like he did in Super Bowl 50, you don't let those guys walk. You absolutely don't let them walk. You can't. You can't do that to your organization. You can't do that to your franchise. And I understand, guys, George Paton doesn't have any ties to any players in the Broncos. I've got that. I know that. But he has to understand, and he has to realize that the Denver Broncos would not be Super Bowl champions if it wasn't for Von Miller. So I hope George Paton does the right thing. I hope they come to an agreement. I hope that Von Miller gets signed and stays a Denver Bronco for the rest of his career. Now that brings me back to Deshaun Watson situation. Now, this is crazy, guys. This is really crazy. The Las Vegas odds makers, and I don't know who they are. I just know that there's odds makers out there in different casinos and different ways of coming up to what they feel is going to happen and put bets in that different kinds of lines and things like that. I'm not really into betting, so I really don't know that aspect of it. But I found it intriguing that I heard today that Las Vegas has the Broncos as the favorite to sign Deshaun Watson when he becomes available, if he becomes available. Now that surprises me because it's going to be an absolutely enormous amount the Broncos are going to have to pay, whether it be in money, whether it be in current players, whether it be in draft choices, whether it be in all three of them, or even something else we don't know. But I do know that Deshaun Watson is not going to come cheap. There's absolutely no way. It's going to be first. It's going to be second. It's going to be third. It's going to be firstborn. It's going to be, your right arm and your left leg. I don't know. But it's going to be a lot for the Broncos to pay. But Vegas has him down as a favorite to get Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't know what they know, and I don't know what they've heard, because I have not heard that. But that's what Vegas is saying. So if that's the case, guys, then we just have to wait and see, whether or not that happens. I don't know. I found a little bit of information I thought was quite interesting. I heard this also out of Denver on the Fan, 104.3 The Fan, that since 2011, that Peyton Manning is the only quarterback other than Tim Tebow to have won the division and won a playoff game. And the reason why I bring this up is because Tim Tebow retired from baseball after being with the New York Mets for 4 years. And I find it ironic that that the Broncos, being tied obviously to Tim Tebow, that the Broncos haven't won their division since Peyton Manning retired, and that Tim Tebow is the only other quarterback that has won the division as a Broncos quarterback and won a playoff game. Now, if you guys have forgotten, the playoff game that Tim Tebow and the Broncos won was a home game after they won the division. Granted, yes, they were 8-8, and the Steelers were, I believe the Steelers were 11-6, or 11-5, or 12-4. But because they were a wild card, and the Broncos had won the division, the Steelers had to go to Denver. And that game went into overtime, and Tim Tebow hit Demaryius Thomas on the very first play of overtime for a touchdown. And the Broncos won the game. That's the first and only other, or not first, I shouldn't say that, but Tebow's the only other quarterback since 2011 to have won the division and won a playoff game other than Peyton Manning. So that's why it's important, guys, to get a quarterback, to get a franchise quarterback. We've gone through numerous quarterbacks since Peyton Manning. And frankly, since that point, we've gone through numerous ones since Tim Tebow before Peyton Manning. So and we didn't go through a lot, guys. I know Peyton Manning, basically came there when Tebow was on his way out. So I really shouldn't say that we've gone through numerous ones before Manning or after Tebow, but we certainly have since Manning, and we're continuously doing it. And the way it looks right now, if the Broncos were to draft a quarterback in the first round of the draft with the number 9 pick. If you take a quarterback in round 1, he's going to be expected to play. He's absolutely going to be expected to play because he drafted him in the first round. Remember, guys, we didn't get Drew Lock in the first round. We got him in the second round. So if we take a quarterback with our number 9 pick, you know full well, guys, he's going to have to start. Then what do you do with Lock? Keep him as a backup? Trade him? Well, they've been trying to trade him. They've been trying to trade him, it seems like, since he got there. So my point is simply this. My point on the whole quarterback, Drew Lock, Deshaun Watson issue, even going back to Carson Wentz, and it's still the same, guys. It's still the same. All the Broncos are trying to do by doing that is getting a stopgap. Now, if you get Deshaun Watson, he's young. So that could be your franchise quarterback, per se, for the next 8-10 years. So that's a viable situation and a viable person to pursue, because he could be your franchise quarterback. But anybody else, like a Carson Wentz or a Derek Carr, or anybody else other than Deshaun Watson. I've even heard names of other quarterbacks out there that I really wouldn't want. I don't want I don't want a quarterback from the Jets, or I don't want a quarterback from. I don't want anybody else. If we're going to get a quarterback, I want Deshaun Watson, and I don't even want Teddy Bridgewater. That name's been thrown around. I don't think Bridgewater is what Bridgewater was when he was with the Vikings. He's not the same quarterback. And when he got hurt, that was it, guys. I mean, sometimes that happens. And, you know, granted, every quarterback, every NFL player is one play away from having their career ended. I mean, that happened to Terrell Davis when he tore his ACL. He never was the same. So it happens. It happens, guys. But I just think that a Deshaun Watson would be the only choice involving a trade. And then the only thing else I see is that we need to draft a quarterback with our number 9 pick. If we don't, if George Paton decides not to draft a quarterback in the first round, then guys, we're going with Drew Lock next year. And that's it. We're just going to ride with Drew Lock and see what happens. And if he has a horrible season, then he'll be gone. He'll be gone the following year. And so will the coaching staff. Absolutely, the coaching staff will be gone. Because George Paton doesn't have any ties to them either. Why would he keep them around? He wants his own guys anyways, most likely. So that brings me to my final comment. And yes, I'm wearing a Colorado Avalanche jersey. I have the Colorado Avalanche hat. That's because the Colorado Avalanche are playing the Las Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time in Lake Tahoe on the 18th fairway of the golf course there. It's an outdoor game. It's going to be fun. It's going to have a great backdrop of the lake and the snow and the mountains. But more importantly, guys, I'm ecstatic that we got our 5 guys back, either from the COVID protocol or due to injury. Those 5 guys are Calvert, Cale Makar, Tyson Jost, Sherwood, and the much, much needed Gabriel Landeskog. I am so glad, excuse me, guys. I am so glad we got Landeskog back. And now, they may not play, like the amount of minutes and time that they normally would, because they haven't played some of them haven't played since January, early January. Some of them haven't played for 14 weeks. 14 days. They haven't played for 14 days because of the protocol. And they couldn't practice with the team, and they couldn't skate, and they couldn't be on the ice with the team. So they're going to be rusty. But it's great to have them back because we need them. We need them, guys, especially Landeskog with Nathan McKinnon line, Cale Makar. Cale Makar, he's great in the game, whether or not he's blocking shots or he's shooting or defense. Tyson Jost, he's huge as well. Matt Calvert, all those guys. We need all of them. And I'm really glad to get those guys back. Can't wait for tomorrow's game. We need to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, they're in first place. We've lost some games. We're going to make those up. But we have lost games and has been rescheduled due to the virus and also due to injury. So, like I said, guys, it's glad to have them back. I'm supporting the Avalanche with my hat, my jersey, obviously the flag in the background. And I say go Avalanche. Take down the Vegas Golden Knights. Put them in their place, guys. And let's get this W and let's get the 2 points. That's it, guys. That's all I have for this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't, please do so. And those that have subscribed, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Friday, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Colorado Avalanche games coming up. And we'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye-bye.